Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, your guide from the dark side, Dawson Richard. I hope everybody's doing good out there and staying safe in these trying times. In all seriousness, though, I hope you and all of your families are staying safe, and know that if you have a sick family member or you yourself are sick with COVID-19 or whatever, that I'm sending all of my good vibes and my thoughts your way. So if you need to talk about it or just want to chat and get your mind off of it, feel free to email me at this email, which is thevoidfrequency@gmail.com, and I'll hook you up with some contact info, and we can just chat. We can just talk. You can let it all out, But anyway, I apologize for the huge wait on this one. I've been fucking slacking here recently, pretty hardcore. I'm on this new schedule, and I've been trying to get like all of my free time and shit organized, and just finding like the best times to record. But I should be back on track after this episode. So sorry for being such a lazy fuck. As always, remember that if you are squeamish around gore, murder, and other heinous acts of violence, please back out now.
Creature that came to be known as Mothman.
Most notorious legends, Mothman.
This thing is no owl. At least not a normal one.
So today's episode is about one of the most famous cryptids in American folklore, the infamous Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So for those of you who don't know what the term cryptid is, it's defined as any creature that's existence has not been fully proven by science. So like, I'm assuming if you don't know what a cryptid is, you at least have heard of like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or the Chupacabra. Those are all cryptids. And let me tell you, ya boy fucking loves cryptids, okay? Like, my dad used to record this old show on the History Channel for me called Monster Quest, where they would try to, like, track down all these cryptids and find evidence of their existence. And boy, I fucking ate that shit up. I love cryptids. My dad loves cryptids. I even think my mom loves cryptids. The point is, I grew up watching and studying this shit like crazy. But enough backstory on me. To summarize, I fucking love this cryptid, and I love that I'm making my first actual cryptid video for the podcast, and it's just so fucking cool, and there's all this crazy shit that goes into... Fuck, I dropped my Jones Soda cap, but there's all this crazy shit that goes into the story. I won't spoil it for you, so without further ado, let's get right into today's story. So our story starts on November 12th of 1966. Imagine, you and your 4 friends are out at the cemetery near Clendon in West Virginia. You've been digging graves for hours and the last rays of sunlight disappeared over the horizon a long time ago. The night is cold and long and you swear your mind is playing tricks on you. The slightest sound makes you jump out of your skin. You think about packing it up and calling it a night, but suddenly, you see it. A man-like shape swoops down from nearby trees and glides just over your head. Its glowing red eyes chill you to the bone as you and your friends flee in absolute terror. This account was the first recorded sighting of the Mothman. 5 gravediggers claim to have seen a man-like shape with giant wings and large glowing red eyes that swooped down on them. This wouldn't be the last sighting, however. Only 3 days after this event, 2 couples were driving on a roadway near Point Pleasant. They were near the West Virginia Ordnance Works, known by the locals as the TNT area. West Virginia Ordnance Works was an abandoned munitions plant to the north of Point Pleasant that dates back to World War II. The facility during its operation manufactured ammunition, dynamite, and the surrounding area is mostly forest, dotted with some grassy clearings and some domes made of concrete. They were called igloos. These were used to store barrels of gunpowder, and the area is also riddled with these abandoned tunnels. A lot of them have been sealed off or collapsed or flooded with water. And there's also a wildlife sanctuary named McClintock Wildlife Management that now is like in that area. These couples were Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette. So while driving along Highway 62 in Roger's black 57 Chevy Bel Air, one of the couples spotted something on the road ahead of them. 2 glowing eyes peered out from the darkness. As they drew closer, their headlights illuminated what they described as a man with large wings. Steve said that the creature stood at about 6 to 7 feet tall and had wings that spanned 10 feet in length. Linda also confirmed this, but the most haunting thing about the creature was its glowing red eyes. The moment the light hit the creature, it darted from the road, avoiding the light. As the couples continued to drive, attempting to make sense of what they had just seen, the creature began to fly after the car. Steve attempted to speed up, but the creature was able to follow them, even when the car reached speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. So, obviously terrified and freaked the fuck out, the group managed to shake the creature and watched it disappear into the night. When they stopped, Steve noticed deep claw marks in the roof of his car. He and the group went to the sheriff's office to file a report. Keep in mind that this is at like fucking 2 a.m. So knowing how absurd this must have sounded to a local paper, especially in a small Appalachian community in the 1960s, Scarberry insisted that the apparition couldn't have been a figment of his imagination. He even told the paper if he had seen it while he was by himself, he wouldn't have said anything because he wouldn't have believed it. But there were 4 of them who saw it. But anyway, the sheriff takes it somewhat seriously, and he and a couple of others go out to search that area. There's no sign of anybody. However, a few of the men claim to hear murmurs coming from the woods around them and unexplained static disrupting their radio frequencies. So the headline of that morning read, "Couple sees man-sized bird, creature, something." So panic begins to set in on the morning of November 16th of 1966 when Linda Scarberry was rushed to the hospital by her father after experiencing a nervous breakdown. So she talked about how like just seeing this creature and like remembering the incident like threw her into like hysteria and made her have these nervous breakdowns because she would have nightmares about it, which I mean, who wouldn't? But on the phenomenon, Roger Scarberry stated, "I'm a hard guy to scare, but last night I was all for getting out of there." Me fucking too, Roger. So this event is kind of the match that lights the fuse. It's after this that all these reports start popping up. Like fucking everybody starts seeing the Mothman. There were 8 reported sightings alone within the first 3 days of this being published in the newspaper. There was even this pair of firefighters who claimed to have seen it, and they also described him in the same way as the 2 couples. So I keep talking about the appearance of the Mothman, but I haven't actually given you a full rundown on what the old boy looks like. So the full recorded appearance is that he is anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall. Now he's called Mothman because whenever a Chicago reporter got a hold of this, he nicknamed it the Mothman or named it after Batman, who at the time was like really big. You know, during the 60s he was getting his start. But he was also called Mothman mainly because of the eyes, which are described as being large, round, reflective, and glowing red. When you hear these stories and reports, it makes you almost think of more like an owl, like just a big owl person, which is funny because a lot of cryptozoologists, which it's in the name, or people who study cryptozoology, have speculated that the Mothman is actually the Owlman, which is a totally different cryptid that was spotted in England and that it's being misidentified. So that's kind of cool. Sometimes he's described as not having a head, with the 2 huge red eyes being set more in like the chest. These eyes are also reported to, like I said earlier, be glowing or at least reflective. The details of his face and his feet have never been really described. One witness who saw the face clearly could only say that it was really horrible and monstrous and terrifying looking. She had all these nightmares and nearly suffered a nervous breakdown, very similar to before. And anyone who gets a close look at the Mothman seems to suffer from extreme fear and psychological distress. In particular, people say that there's this like evil that overcomes them when they see Mothman's eyes. It's just a bad feeling when you see him. Another major sighting came from Salem, West Virginia, where Newell Partridge was sitting in his home one evening when suddenly his television began to act strange. Static and white noise came across the screen, and strange symbols began to flash. Another noise began to emanate from outside, so he shined a light out back to see what it was. 2 glowing red eyes reflected back at him. When he went out further to see what it was, the creature disappeared into the woods. The next morning, Partridge's German Shepherd went missing, and many believe that the Mothman had something to do with it. So within a span of 13 months, hundreds of these stories and sightings of the Mothman are popping up. But the Mothman wasn't the only strange thing being encountered in Point Pleasant. Supposedly, after many of these alleged sightings, witnesses were visited by men in black suits. They would ask questions about the town and about the creature before harassing the individual to keep their stories to themselves. Much of this led people to even claim that the Mothman may be of extraterrestrial origin. Not everybody's buying it, though. A wildlife biologist by the name of Dr. Robert L. Smith at West Virginia University said that all of these Mothman sightings were simply the result of paranoia and fear painting over the truth. He believed that what everybody was actually seeing was the sandhill crane, a bird that was local to that area, which, I guess, I don't know. I looked up these birds and, yeah, they're pretty tall and they got, a big wingspan, but I don't know. I just feel like there's not a lot of resemblance between them and the descriptions given of the Mothman. The sandhill crane is 4 to 5 feet, but they're saying that the Mothman's 7 to fucking 8 feet tall. There's a big difference there. So there's also an explanation that adds on to this, saying that maybe one of these cranes was nesting in the abandoned power plant located inside the TNT area, and that exposure to radiation was giving it these physical differences. But me and my wife Chloe discussed it, and she was saying physical changes like that don't really manifest in the creature until it starts having offspring, because the fucked up genetics mix with the normal genetics, and that is when you start getting the fucking fucked up crazy big animals. So I don't know. Some people also claim that it was maybe just hallucinations from sleep paralysis, but let me tell you, I don't fucking buy any of it. Mothman exists. Fight me. Anyway, joking aside, the story of the Mothman reached its climax on December 15th of 1967. The Silver Bridge was a large bridge built over the Ohio River to connect Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio. It was constructed of eye-bar chains and had little redundancy, which basically just means it's like Christmas lights. If one thing doesn't work, it all doesn't work. So if something bad happens to the bridge, it's all going to come crumbling down at the same time. Also, at the time of construction in 1928, the average automobile weighed about 1,500 pounds, but in 1967, the average family automobile weighed about 4,000 pounds. Bumper-to-bumper traffic jams on the bridge were also common, occurring several times a day, 5 days each week. And on that fateful December day, the traffic was at an all-time high. Suddenly, disaster struck. A single link on the north of the Ohio subsidiary chain snapped loose. Everything came crumbling down. People, cars, innocent human lives fell from the bridge into the frigid waters of the Ohio River. In total, 46 people lost their lives. But what does this have to do with the Mothman? Well, this event happened almost 1 year after the sightings of the Mothman began to crop up. Even more interesting was a photograph that was taken months before the incident that depicted what many believe to be the Mothman perching atop the Silver Bridge. A New York author by the name of John Keel had been investigating the incident and theorized that the Mothman was an oracle of doom. He recorded in his book, The Mothman Prophecies, that many of the residents had received premonitions of the disaster at the Silver Bridge, and went further to say that the Mothman was behind this. It was because of this that the Mothman got most of its celebrity status amongst cryptids and was believed to be a warning of bad things to come. So as if to support this claim, many sightings of the Mothman have sprung up around the world before disasters. He's even been tied to the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. He was sighted in Moscow shortly before the Russian apartment bombings in 1999. He was sighted before the Mexican swine flu outbreak in 2009, and also the 2011 nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan. But doom premonitions aside, the Mothman has reserved a special place in the hearts of the people of Point Pleasant and has become a local legend. The people of Point Pleasant held their first annual Mothman Festival in 2002. The group organizing the event chose the Mothman to be the center of the festival due to its uniqueness and as a way to celebrate its local legacy inside the town. The attendance for this kind of thing is usually anywhere between 10 to 12,000 people per year. And there's also this 12-foot tall metallic statue of the Mothman that was created by artist and sculptor Bob Roach that was unveiled in 2003. The Mothman Museum and Research Center opened shortly after and is open 7 days a week. One of the coolest things about this is that the festival is on the third weekend of September every year, and it almost always falls on my birthday, which I think is cool as hell. But yeah, it's got all kinds of cool shit like guest speakers, vendor exhibits, pancake eating contests, live bands play there all the time, and they even do these hayride tours of like notable areas with the Mothman. The Mothman has also gained some popularity in pop culture of late, appearing in the 2002 movie The Mothman Prophecies. He's been on the show Mountain Monsters. He's got a song by him written by Blitzkid called Genus Unknown, and he even makes an appearance in the video game Fallout 76 as an enemy creature. But what's the truth in all this? What's the hoax? Was the Mothman just a trick of the mind brought on by the cover of night and widespread paranoia? Was he a bird, mutated by radiation from the TNT area? Or is there some dark entity roaming the backwoods of West Virginia? Well, guys, that's it. That is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and like I said, I apologize on the wait for everybody out there that like waits for my episodes and is actually like in apprehension for the next episodes. I apologize to you guys. Promise I'm going to attempt to resume a regular schedule from here on out. What did you guys think? Did you like this episode? Are you excited to hear more about cryptids in the future? I hope so, because I do plan on making more of these. I just fucking love cryptids, man. And if you don't, skip the episode. I don't give a fuck. Like, there's going to be more. You better just fucking prep for it. But in all seriousness, let me know in the comments or hit up my DMs by emailing me at thevoidfrequency@gmail.com. I do read all of your comments. I do read everything you send me because I want to hear from you guys and I want feedback. I hope you all are well. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and of course, above all, stay weird, everybody.